We've played around with a few primitives, and we haven't seen yet objects. And before you even see them, let's try to solidify what actually primitives are. And we're going to see objects in a later course, but the easiest way to explain what primitives are compared to objects, which we don't know what they are yet, objects are basically buckets that could contain multiple items. They don't store only one piece of information. Versus primitive variables, primitive values will always store a basic value, such as a number, a string, a Boolean value, which we'll look into in the next video. While as objects are more complex objects, and they could contain an array or a list of items, a large amount of different properties, and they're not constrained to only hold one value at a time. With that differentiation, it's very important to notice and to be able to understand the difference between a variable and a variable that is a primitive and a variable that is an object. We haven't seen objects yet, but we will. A primitive always holds directly the data that's inside of it. It's not a linkage to another place. It's not a placeholder for large amounts of data. It's actually storing directly in Flash the information that we want to work with. Okay, so if I create a variable and I call it I, for example, which is a number, I'm storing directly inside of that variable the number. And if I would create another variable such as t, which would be a number as well, I could place into it I, but I'm not really placing I into it because I is a primitive value. And as it's a primitive value, I'm basically duplicating the data from I and placing it inside a t. And in other words, t now equals 3. It does not equal I. I now could change, but it would not change t.